Welcome into another episode of the Tailgate. Today we are sitting, luckily, in some cloud cover. It's early in the morning, so
That's right.
it's June, so this could have gone a lot different and been a lot hotter, but
Yeah.
we've got a nice morning to do this. I'm joined by new Trussville City Schools Superintendent Patrick Martin. Appreciate you doing this, taking time out of what I know has got to be a busy schedule.
I've been excited about this, Gary, for ever since you called me about a month ago. So
yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing it. It's something new, something different, and hey, it gets us all out of the office for a little bit.
it makes me want to go and get a truck. I'm being real honest with you.
Okay.
I had a Ford F-150 about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Traded it in so my wife could get a better car.
Yeah, been there.
But now this makes me want to go and get a pickup truck again.
You're kind of where I was. So I had a Toyota Tacoma for years.
Okay.
We traded it in, and I ended up in a four-door SUV. Hated it. Hated it. I'm not going to name the brand. Hated it. And we got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
The problems and stuff. I said, I want a Tacoma again.
Yeah.
I want one so bad. Got it about a year ago, and I was like, I'm going to do something with this.
Yeah.
Like, I want to travel in it. Like, that, you know, you get the apps now to do stuff in your car. Like, it wanted you to name the truck.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I'm a big Henry David Thoreau fan.
Terrific.
Everybody knows that about me. So this is Henry.
Okay.
His name is Henry. And I was like, I just want to do something involving outdoors, interview type stuff, conversation in the truck. And so ran the idea by a number of people who have been pros in the video space, which is not me. And this is what we landed on.
Yeah, it's terrific. See, I would like to use it for a different format. I would like to sit down with my children. You know, I have 4 children.
Yeah.
And this is how we would sit when I ask them questions like, why do you think that was a good decision?
Good idea.
Talk to me about what your curfew is on a Friday night. So this would be a perfect format for that deal. So.
That's awesome. So first, very hard-hitting question right off the bat. You were at Vestavia. There's a Baumhauer's very nearby.
Oh, yeah.
There's about to be a Walk-On's very nearby. Which one's better?
Oh my goodness, that's tough. I am going to say so. My superintendent, Todd Freeman, who is also a close personal friend of mine, outstanding man, Wednesday at Baumhauer's was our spot.
Okay. Yeah.
But with that said, the owner of Walk-Ons is a huge UAB sports fan and actually takes care of UAB athletes very, very well. So for me, that's what pushes the ball across the goal line. Not to mention, I will probably frequent this place at least 3 days a week going forward.
Yeah, I talked to Lance Walker, the athletics director here, maybe about a year ago, when they were moving into the building, and you know his office is all the way on the other side of the building. And he was telling me, he said, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to be, it's right out my window. It's just calling me every single day. He's like, I'm going to have to get in on some of these workouts.
Well, I was going to say, we're going to have to start either a walking club here at the office, some type of CrossFit. I don't know what, but just something to counteract going to Walk-Ons, 3 days a week. So,
that's right. That's right. So how have things been going since you were approved here and really hit the ground running?
I've loved every minute of it. I mean, this for us, and it's one of those deals where when we as a family make a decision, we are 100% in. It is go time, and it has been the best decision for our family.
Right. What all have you been a part of so far? Like right now it's summer. School was kind of on the way out this year when you kind of took over and really started. What all have you gotten to get your feet wet with?
I mean, everything. Just had a meeting this morning with our athletics director and Lance, as well as some of our folks in the operations side, talking about the new Jumbotron scoreboard that they're going to put up. I will say I was pleased to hear it may be 3 feet larger than Vestavia's, which I put up last year. Hey, I'm not competitive, Gary, by any means, but just I want to make sure that is stated. Love my folks from Vestavia, but
Myra will love to hear that.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I'm a big Myra Miles fan, as she knows. Yeah, so got to do that. I'll tell you, Gary, probably my favorite thing that I had got to be a part of was graduation. Just the format of how they set up, where they put the stage in the end zone. You're looking out at all of those folks celebrating with their students, their families. what I was most impressed about was how excited the kids were for each other.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you were there or not, but you know, our softball team, they carried their blue and red
pictures of
mats.
that.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
that was
that
outstanding.
was
You know,
cool.
Kyle Parmley would be proud.
Kyle would be. I'm surprised he didn't carry it.
He probably walks around carrying a map as well. But just the excitement, the enthusiasm, and it was genuine for one another. And that's such a big night across the state for all of our graduates.
Yeah.
But it was fun to see their excitement.
Yeah. So I know you've been out of state, but you've been in Vestavia. I think you were at what, Gardendale?
Gardendale before.
How do you approach a new job? Like what things are important to you? How do you tackle getting started?
Sure. I think the most important thing that you can do is you start to build relationships. You know, I think where leaders get into trouble is when they come in and they're trying to fit the system to meet their personality style. And really what you're doing is you're coming in, building relationships, meeting people, seeing what their vision is for not just the school system, but the community.
Right.
And then you start to match up, all right, here are some things that I know about leadership that can help.
Yeah.
But really what you're doing is you've stepped into a vehicle, which is Trussville and Trussville City Schools, and now you're driving it to a destination that community wants to go to.
Right, right. Well, it's kind of like, to use a football analogy, you hear coaches all the time, especially at the high school level where there's not a transfer portal, and there's, you hear them talk about, we have to kind of cater our offense to our personnel, right?
Great,
to what we have. We play to our strengths, and we prop up those strengths.
That's a great analogy, right? And I would love to say that I was really good on the coaching side. I coached ball for 4 years early in my career. Did such a good job. They asked me to stop doing it to go into administration. So
what ball were you coaching?
Coach basketball.
Okay.
And if you would, you use the coaching analogies, because if I do it, I don't do it any service or credit whatsoever. All right. Probably one of the worst coaches in the history of the state of Illinois.
Oh no. What went wrong?
The coaching. The players were really good. It was the coaching. That's the part that went wrong.
What were you running?
No. We did okay. No, 500. I say that kidding around.
Hey,
I like to have fun with it. My passion just wasn't there for coaching. I love the classroom. I love I loved administration. I saw that in my future, and that's why I needed to step away and give someone that position that was passionate, that would eat, breathe, drink, sleep basketball.
Yeah, that's more than half the battle. Is that passion?
It's the
part
passion
of it.
piece.
Speaking of basketball, I see that with Coach Monso here. I know he's been he was a legend at Parkway Christian. He was the state scoring leader for years and years and years. Saw him coach at Clay Chalkville, at Springville, and now here, and you just hear it with him. You hear that passion, and you feel it. We've done one of these, and it's very important to have
I shook Jeremy's hand. I understand he was a pretty good scorer in high school, and it's still hot. How many years later, that hand is still hot from all those shots he hit. Yeah. I know he is building, right? He is building a program similar to what I'm doing, stepping in as superintendent.
Sure.
He's doing the same thing with the basketball program. And, my dad was a basketball coach in Indiana. So I know what goes into that.
Indiana, too.
That's right. Ooh. I know that those are late nights. That's film exchange on a Friday night. Now, that's back in the day, right? Driving to a Hardee's at 11:30 after a ball game with your dad to exchange film.
Yeah.
That's been a long time ago. But I know what, from Floyd to Tanya to Jeremy to all of our coaches, I know what goes into that to make a successful program. Yeah. And, the number one thing is passion and hard work.
Right. Yeah.
So Jeremy is working through that right now.
He is. How do you this is what, second, how many top superintendent jobs is this now for you?
All right. So this would be, I stepped in, I was high school principal at the age of 25, and then I was a superintendent at the age of 29.
Okay.
And so I stepped into that position. I was in the same system, recruited away to a system just outside of Peoria to serve as their superintendent. So that's 2. Yeah. Came to Gardendale. I can tell you, Gary, my family would still live in Gardendale if that system had gone through.
Right.
Stan Hoagland, Chris Lucas, I start thinking about Chris Seagroves, all of those Board of Education members, Karen White, city council members, outstanding. My family would still be in Gardendale if that had happened. Did not happen, so went to Vestavia. Wonderful situation there. Got to work with a good friend every day.
Yeah.
And so this would be my fourth superintendency.
How do you approach a new school year? Is it different based on the school system, or like what are your priorities over the summer? What does a task list look like for you? Like, how do you kind of get to August, that second week of August?
Sure. So, this summer, what we're doing is we have our administrative retreat on the 22nd. So we'll sit down with all of our administrators and we'll start talking about our initiatives. We'll start talking about what are the things that we would like to accomplish. I'll tell you, I was just pouring over some data from the PARCA website yesterday, looking at ACT scores across the state, looking at ACT scores for our system, looking at some of our ACAP scores. So just looking at those different areas to see where are some points of emphasis for our team. And then what we'll do is in July, we'll meet with our Board of Education. We've got a retreat with them.
Yep.
So we'll start to set the stage. And then it's unbelievable, but by August 3rd, we're already in the Institute and kids are coming back.
Wow.
So I love this time of year because what I know right now is that teachers and students are home, recharging, enjoying summer.
Right.
I mean, I think about a third grade kid right now in Trussville who they woke up this morning and their whole day is it's probably more packed than when they're in school. They're going to the pool. They're going to go play pickup basketball. Man. They're going to go see grandma. I mean, I love thinking about that kid who is doing exactly what they need to do to recharge. So they've got the energy and they're ready to go in August for school.
I miss those days.
Oh, I'll tell you. I hope those kids understand this is the time of their life.
Yes.
And we're in a neighborhood right now here in Trussville, my family, and it's funny because when those street lights come on, you start to hear those mamas on the porch saying, all right, Tommy, time to come in. Yeah, I mean, you remember that, Gary. So I hope our kids are recharging and they're ready to go come August.
Yeah. How do you, when you get to that July, like when you have a retreat for like the Board of Education and y'all are really kind of zeroing in on 2023-24, how are you leading that? What does that look like for you?
Sure. So again, talking with our administrators in July, you talked about the Board of Education. When you start looking at some of our professional development initiatives, that starts very high level.
Yeah.
So it starts at 30,000 foot. And then what you start to see is the boots on the ground is really, all right, how is this going to look when those teachers on a Thursday at 2 o'clock go into a session with other teachers and start talking about what the needs of students are in their grade level, start to look at what the needs are for that school.
Right.
So you take from 30,000 foot view to those conversations. And that's really where the magic happens, because what you don't want to do is bring a bunch of teachers into the classroom after, during that 2 o'clock hour and start having conversation. And they walk away thinking, that was a complete waste of time. I got absolutely nothing out of that. And so really what you're trying to do is make sure that those are good conversations where they're reviewing data, they're changing practices, they're looking at instructional strategy, they're looking at pedagogy, they're looking at all those different things and making tweaks, making enhancements to improve student learning.
Yeah, so it's just being very, very intentional.
It's being intentional and deliberate. Absolutely, those are the two things.
Okay. What do you, when August comes, you've put in all the summer work, first day, first week of school, what are you doing?
I want to be out in the schools. I think good administrators are the one. I always remember when I was a teacher, and I'll tell you, as bad as a coach as I was a pretty decent teacher.
What'd you teach?
I taught social studies, high school social studies. So I had juniors. At one point I was teaching some AP, but I had juniors in world history. I had sophomores in, let's see, we had U.S. history, and then also had them for geography and government. And then one year I taught freshman U.S. history, which I loved U.S. history. You talked about, Henry Thoreau. I mean, I love, love that process, but
I'm an English and history guy.
Okay.
We don't know each other well yet, but Trussville history specifically.
Okay.
I'm
That's sort of your jam.
I'm your guy.
All right. All right. Well,
I love it.
When I was teaching, and then even when I was principal, one of the lines that I loved was a teacher on their feet worth two in the seat.
Ooh.
And so I feel the same way as a superintendent, because as a superintendent, you have all these things going on in the system. Unless you get out into the buildings, into the classrooms, you're visiting with teachers, you're having those conversations. If you sit in your office all day long, you're not getting a real viewpoint of what's happening in the school. No. So you asked me what I'm going to be doing those first few weeks in August, and I hope throughout the entire school year, I'm out in the buildings. I'm watching the practice take place, if that makes sense.
Why is that important to you? I mean, like you've kind of mentioned, kind of the effect it has. Maybe let me rephrase that. You've kind of answered why it's important to you. Why do you think that's important to the teachers, to students, to see the top dog, kind of around and really taking an interest in what they're doing?
Sure. I think first and foremost, it makes it so that this building isn't seen as an ivory tower.
Yeah.
Right? We are right down there in the trenches with our teachers, supporting them, working with them, doing everything we can for the betterment of students. So I think that's first and foremost.
Sure.
Second, I think it's important because that's the opportunity for me to be a sounding board where if you have a teacher walk up to you and say, you know what, I just need to tell you about some initiative and what my thoughts are on it. They have that opportunity to do that face-to-face as opposed to through an email.
Right.
So I'd say those are probably the two reasons why.
Yeah, no, that's great. It is kind of an ivory tower. Just
no, well,
it's a nice building.
It's a beautiful building, but again, it's our building.
It's a place to work. Yeah.
That's not the superintendent's office. That is a Trussville City Schools facility.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. What is the best thing you've seen so far since you've been here?
I had heard about this. I've got friends. I think about a guy like Scott Meyer, a guy like Keith Trotman. These are folks that graduated from Hewitt Trussville.
Scott Myers?
Scott Myers over there at
Hall of Fame?
That's right.
Exactly.
Yep. You know Scott. So I know him. Our boys play ball together. Great man. I knew in talking to them about the pride that folks have in Trussville City Schools that live in Trussville, but until you're here and you experience it firsthand, there is a lot of pride. I've heard from several folks, not just in my building, but around town, that Trussville just sort of gets in you, and when you come here, you don't leave.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, not to use that, but I feel like in a way we've kind of seen that through tragedy in the last week or so with Grayson Pope, the baseball player at Hewitt. You've seen a community really galvanize and come together, and you really see how tight-knit a place can be. You don't want it to be through tragedy, but you've really seen just how close-knit a city that's gotten as big as it is, 26,000 people.
That's right.
How tight-knit it still is.
And we saw each other at the vigil down on the mall. We had a chance to talk and visit, and then I went down and saw Dad, and had a conversation with him. The word that comes to mind when you see those types of things, and David was surrounded with folks when I was there with him at UAB. You could just feel the love, but the word that comes to mind is family. It's just one big 26,000 person family. I mean, it really is. It's a big family, but it's a family. So
I'm gonna have to read this because I can't memorize it. But okay, your Twitter bio has a Hemingway quote. We've talked about Thoreau, but it says, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." I think that's from For Whom the Bell Tolls.
That's right.
I think.
Nice. Yeah. Well played. Well played.
Why is that there? Why is that? Why does you could put anything in that bio? Why is that there?
First of all, I'm very impressed that you did the research to look at Twitter handle in prep for that. I mean, it just shows me the preparation that went in.
Twitter's not research. Twitter is mindless scrolling usually.
Okay.
But I like when I see stuff like that because I love Hemingway. I love Thoreau. I love. I'm in my early stages of reconnecting to some Kerouac and stuff like that.
Impressed.
But I saw it and I was like, I got to ask him about that.
Yeah, what I love about that, I really love that each and every day. I think about, again, I love sports. I grew up from the time I could roll a basketball, I was in a gym because my dad was coaching.
Yeah.
Love sports. I love that every morning we wake up and we can really determine how we're going to view the day. I go back, I was thinking about that this morning in preparation for this. I love when Jimmy Valvano in his speech says, you think about 3 things you can do every day.
You laugh, you think, and you cry.
That's right. And he says, in the last one, do something that moves you to tears.
Yes.
So if you think, you laugh, and you cry each and every day, it's been a full day.
That's a full day. That's a heck of a day.
That's right. I love it.
I love that speech.
And I didn't have to look it up. That's right. I didn't have to look it up because I've just always got it there in my mind. But when I think of that quote, we have an opportunity every morning when our feet hit the ground to determine how we're going to look at that day. I'll tell you what, I have been blessed. Entering my 24th year in education.
Okay.
I can't think of one time in education, coach, teacher, principal, assistant superintendent, where I've not walked in to the building just smiling, just
Yeah.
excited. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in the best, and no offense to other professions, I am in the best profession that I can possibly think of.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's why. That's the genesis of that quote.
I love Valvano. Some of his recruiting tactics and stuff notwithstanding.
All right, but that's after. That's right. That's after the championship
but
run.
When I was in college, quick story about Valvano. I had a class with Rick Bragg. Do you know who Rick Bragg is?
No, I don't. Help me out.
Pulitzer Prize winning reporter. He's New York Times bestseller. He's from Jacksonville, Alabama.
Okay.
Or near Jacksonville, Alabama.
Okay.
I think his wide spot in the road was called Possum Trot. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But me and him became friends when I was in school. We had to write stories for a sports writing class. It really was like a magazine feature writing class. And I had always loved Jim Valvano. I was always drawn to NC State basketball. I ended up meeting someone through probably social media back near the end of college who was an assistant coach for the women's team. She was a GA.
Yeah, with
K-Yao.
Yeah.
And so I was like, look, I want to do this story for my class. Everybody that was in class was like, I'll just go do a story on Nick Saban. I'll just go do a story on Mark Gottfried. And I was like, I kind of want to do something beyond that. I want to do something different that means something to me that I can report and really tell a good story. I visited NC State. I took a plane ride by myself. I went there. I met her.
Met K-Yao? Or met that coach?
The coach at the time was Kelly Harper, who went to Tennessee.
Yes, she did.
So I met
Missouri State.
Yeah.
Then Tennessee. Yeah, by way of Missouri State. That's right.
I met her, and her husband, I believe, was maybe an assistant. This has been 14 years ago.
Okay.
So the memory a little, but got to tour the facility. And then for the story, I talked to her. I talked to Tim Peeler, who has covered NC State forever.
Okay.
I think he's almost like, in a way, like a Chris Stewart, only with a pen. So like he writes, but he's kind of affiliated with the program a little bit.
Yeah.
Talked to, I think his name's Ernie Myers, that was on the '83 NC State team.
Okay, the state or the national championship
team that beat Houston.
That's right.
I talked to numerous people and wrote a story on that just because of how much I enjoyed NC State. And I had people in class going, how'd you get that? And I was like, I wanted to.
Did my work.
I wanted to. I wanted to go. I wanted to experience it, you know, and I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
And I've always loved Valvano.
Yeah.
My God.
All right. So here's a note. Check my stats. You know, I'm a researcher by trade. You know, I told you before, love UAB sports. My wife's boss at UAB played for Lute Olson at Iowa.
Okay.
Played baseball with the Expos, but I'm bringing it back to NC State because I think on the men's side, and we really like Andy Kennedy, I think Andy Kennedy, his first year, went to NC State and then transferred to play for Bartow at UAB. Check my stats.
Okay, I'll have to follow that.
You know, like I said, I researched when Andy was hired. I'm like, all right, I want to know about this fellow a little bit.
Yeah.
If you played for Valvano and Bartow, I don't know if you. I mean, the only other person, maybe his sophomore year, you could have played for Wooden. But I mean, you're talking about the triumvirate right there.
Wow.
Yeah. Check my stats. I think Andy may have gone to NC State first and then transferred over to UAB to play for Bartow.
I'll have to check that out.
Check it out.
Yeah, no wonder he's a coach.
That's right.
My
check it out.
goodness.
Check it out. And then he's also got the tree with, with Huggy Bear there at West Virginia.
Yeah.
So, okay.
He's an interesting character.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your, do you have a favorite, I don't know, give me a favorite writer, or a favorite team, a favorite...
I shared with you before, love the Cardinals, grew up a Cardinals fan. Again, as bad as I was coaching basketball, even worse baseball player.
We're not going to talk about the Braves infield fly.
No, I'll let that one go.
Please let that sleeping dog lie.
A lot of my family, they love the Cubs, can't stand them. I'm a Cardinal fan. And then, my wife, I've enjoyed watching her coach, whatever team she's, we've got 4 children. Mm-hmm. So usually what would happen is I've got the energy and the brain bandwidth to cheer on my wife's team and cheer on my kids' teams.
There you go.
Yeah. So, wherever she's been at Illinois State, and then she was a D3 coach for a while, and now they've been tearing it up at UAB. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Well, the rain is
coming.
It's going to wrap this up for us. So thank you for doing this. Oh, my goodness.
Loved it.
Y'all make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, and we will see you again soon.